Hello, everyone. This is Jennifer Delaney, the North American Product Manager here at NeoLife International. And when I say here, I am actually here in our headquarters today. And today we have great content for our product call. We are going to go into the SAB, our Scientific Advisory Board, and we're going to talk about our tablets and how high-tech they are. So this interview today is with John Miller. John is our director of the SAB. He has decades of experience in product development. He started as an engineer and even worked at NASA. And then he switched gears, luckily for us, to product development, has been involved in developing more than 500 products in more than 50 countries. His experience and knowledge on nutritional science is extensive. So again, we're really lucky to have him on our team. He's going to be interviewing Mark Lowman, and Mark is our Director of Product Development and Quality. Mark also has decades of experience as a formulator and as a biologist. So again, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this call over to John and Mark, and they will talk to you about our tablets and our capsules because the delivery system of our product is just as important as what's inside. I hope you're all having a great week, and thanks for joining today.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for sharing a little bit of time with us today as we get into the next session of Inside the SAB with Mr. Mark Lowman. And the topic today is NeoLife tablets, those high technology tablets, and how they are dramatically different than anything else that you will encounter in the marketplace. Mark has been with NeoLife for 26 years. I've known him for a long time. He started working with me way back, and we've done a lot of things over the years. He's the International Director of Product Development and Quality and a very important member of the Scientific Advisory Board. He has a background in biological sciences and a very deep understanding of pharmacy and manufacturing, which makes him one of the best possible candidates you could have for talking about the amazing difference in NeoLife tablet technology. So hi there, Mark. How you doing? I've been looking forward to this.
Hi, John. Hi, everybody. Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. This is really great. You know, we had our first chat and conversation early in 1995. And I remember it well, just like it was just maybe last week or the week before. And one of the things that I like, John, in our discussions is I always learn something. So you've been a very good teacher and mentor over the years. I appreciate this time with you to be able to chat about this subject.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. We have been down a lot of paths together, solving some crazy challenges, and certainly our tablet technology has had many of those challenges to overcome. You know, NeoLife delivers a wide array of powerful bioactive ingredients. Everybody knows that. We go to foods and extract things that are, you know, at best unstable under certain conditions and can be completely lost if not handled properly. And then we find ways to deliver those things, and tablets have been one of the ways that we've been able to do that, and I think very successfully based upon the data that we have. But if you look at a NeoLife tablet, you might think it's just like every other tablet that you see on the market, and that could not be further from the truth. Though they appear the same, from a content, stability, performance, and even a regulatory perspective, they are very different. Give us a little insight from your side, Mark.
Right, John. You know, we make tens of millions of tablets every year, and all different forms, you know, whether they're round or capsule, oblong. Sometimes we've even done some hexagonal shapes, different shapes, and also different forms. There's the chewables and the slow release or immediate release or the targeted delivery tablets. And each shape, form, type of tablet presents its own series of challenges that need to be overcome, you know, whether it's, you know, making sure that it delivers nutrients to the right spot or tableting things that don't really want to be made into a tablet.
Yeah.
And we make, like I said, millions and millions of tablets every year. And I think we do that extremely successfully with the highest level of quality.
Yeah, it's amazing. The interesting thing, or one of the things I find interesting about that is, you know, you can make a million or 10 million, or over a few years, you can make hundreds of millions of these things. And in our case, every one of them comes out essentially exactly the same because of the depth of the technology that we make sure delivers all of those bioactive nutrients time after time after time. Mm-hmm. You know, NeoLife has been a leader in tableting technology for decades. I've spent a lot of time at the CRN and know some of the challenges that the industry has confronted. Actually, we were setting tablet manufacturing standards for ourselves before government regulations ever existed that demanded that we do certain things certain ways. In many cases, by the time the government had a regulation in place, we were already doing it or doing much more. I know from experience that making highly functional tablets is not a simple thing. There are many physical and biological actions that need to be considered. Characteristics of the nutrient or nutrients to be delivered, you know, are they powder? Do they lend themselves to being powders? Are they stable? Do you have to protect them from oxygen or light or whatever it might be? And, you know, on top of that, you have to come up with a selection of the most appropriate carriers to deliver that. And then there's things like compression ratios and size and shapes and coatings and disintegration time and moisture sensitivity and shelf life and much, much more that all need to be considered. On top of that, as you know, we don't always get to use the simple, straight, off-the-shelf sort of ingredients that a lot of others would choose to use. We're very strict about guidelines of what can and cannot be in our products. It's amazing. You and I have had many challenges in this development over the years, and tablets have been some of those most challenging because of the standards that we apply and the things that we demand from our products, the performance that we demand. So give us an overview of the perspective from the formulator engineer position that you occupy for us.
Sure. You know, John, from a formulator's point of view, the reason behind using tablets is so that what we use is a nutrient delivery system that ensures uniformity and consistent delivery of the active compounds. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the goal. And it has to be also in a format that's both chemically and physically stable. But, you know, like you say, we're using nutrients and compounds and extracts that other people don't use that are not terribly easy to put into a tablet. For instance, you know, there's different challenges based upon these different ingredients, these different, you know, actives as we call them. Mm-hmm. The whole food derived complex ingredients like flavonoids or from cruciferous plants. These extracts are really sensitive to degradation. And they require some special handling so that we can preserve the nutrient profile that's coming from these ingredients. There's some more things that are a little bit more stable, whether there's the, vitamin C or some minerals like calcium. Yeah. They're a little more stable, and they can be formulated a little bit differently. They can even be made into chewable tablets with no real degradation, but they still need to be protected as well. And there's different avenues for that. Then, of course, B vitamins, C vitamins, we may want to make those sort of meter out the nutrients slowly over time, even up to 8 hours, so that we can appropriately deliver those nutrients in a bioavailable form rather than having them lost. Now, here's a special one, and we've talked about this before, is the lipid-soluble ingredients. Mm. Now, those are things, for instance, like, the carotenoids. We might find that in Betagard or vitamin D and E. These lipid solubles, they don't want to be made into a tablet. As you can imagine, try to take some fat and then some lipids and compress it. It doesn't want to compress. So there's special needs in formulating that are required to be making tablets from these types of things. Yeah. And then, of course, let's consider the garlic and enzyme actives that must survive the stomach environment and get into the intestines where they're the most bioavailable. And those require some special needs. There's special challenges to achieve those types of tablets. So it's not always easy, It's a challenge, but it's kind of a fun challenge.
Yeah, I'd like to say that it's never easy, but it is a fun challenge. Sometimes when we have sat down to talk about things, we have said, how are we going to do this? Because on the surface, it looks like it's not something you can do. You mentioned getting a lipid into a tablet and still having it arrive in the body in its sort of lipid soluble form so it can be utilized readily. That I can remember some of the things we went through trying to figure that out. Not an easy thing to do. And, for us, we have to do it so that everything that we want to deliver, in the case of carotenoids, many of them in one complex, all not only come out of the plant and get into the tablet, but, when the tablet goes through the system and gets into the body, that they actually deliver those things. So, and we do a lot of different bioactives, as you pointed out. And some of them are, relatively easy to do, but most of them, because of the demands we put on our formulations, are very, very complicated, very complex things. But, you and I know that the bioactive component of a tablet is only part of the equation. Now you got to make it into a tablet, and that tablet has to be, it has to be stable. It has to be something that can be handled rapidly by machinery. It can be put in a bottle, and it can have a shelf life that's a reasonable length of time, 2 or 3 years, depending upon the product, and still arrive in the stomach and or wherever it needs to be and release its nutrients and do its job. I mean, that technology, not only the nutrients that are in there, but the technology that allows us to develop a tablet, a delivery system, if you will, that complex is a pretty high technology thing. And I know you spend a lot of time working on that, Mark.
Right, John. A lot of the time is spent on these choosing the appropriate delivery system, the appropriate carriers, and the appropriate what we call now tableting aids, and to make sure that we can take these active compounds, make them into a tablet, and that they will stay a tablet and be stable, and also have protected nutrients so that they're shelf life stable over the 2 or 3 years stability time period that we give to our products. And different nutrients demand different tableting aids. And we call them tableting aids nowadays. We used to call them inactive ingredients.
Yeah.
But, they have activity. That's an incorrect description. They do have activity. They do have function. So tableting aids, better descriptor. They're used to help us take these active compounds that don't want to be made into tablets into a good, stable, tableted nutrient delivery system. And really, a formulator has a pretty large toolkit of these compounds. There's reference books of tableting aids, and they're thick, and these are all there to help develop a robust tableted formula. Now, these tableting aids, in general, but they're divided into classes, and their classes are based upon what they help the formula and the tablet do, what their function is. So we have flowing agents, and that helps make an even product mix and helps it flow evenly through the whole tableting process. There's compression agents. This is an important piece for us. These compression aids that help under pressure, these compounds, these ingredients compress into a tablet form, but then you have to follow in with binding agents, these binders that help. You've got this tablet form. So you've got these binders that will help maintain that form. They link together and keep that tableted, robust tablet form. Of course, once you have a tablet, it does need to deliver the nutrients. It needs to come apart. So the class of compounds we use for that are called disintegrants. And there's different disintegrants based upon the timing of the delivery of the nutrient. So either immediate or long-term or delayed. Quick thing on coatings too, we also have coatings. The coatings are there to help protect the tablet, but also to ease consumption of the tablet. Now those are the typical tableting aids that we use, those classes, but there's also some atypical, a little bit unusual things like gelling agents or pH sensitive compounds or hydrophobic compounds. And those are things that help with delayed or immediate or delayed or sustained release tablets.
Yeah, I've we spent a lot of time talking about these in the scientific advisory board and then in the product development meetings that you and I have shared. And it's always amazing to me all of the little factors that have to be taken into consideration to make a tablet do what it's supposed to do. Your comments about pH sensitivity and hydrophobic actions, that keeping it away from water because they tend to absorb a lot of moisture, and things like that are just examples. When I think of how we manage things like our threshold control products, where we put the tablet together in a way that, like you say, it delivers everything that it's supposed to do in the stomach, but it sort of degrades or breaks down, doesn't degrade, breaks down over time, that results in a threshold control, a continuous flow of the nutrients, whether it's the B vitamins or vitamin C, into the bloodstream over a prolonged period of time. We do that because we know that water-soluble nutrients tend to move through the body quickly. If you dump a bunch in, just straight up vitamin C or something like that into the body, it will pick it up, metabolize it, and pass it through very quickly. So in order to extend the sort of window of biological activity, we developed these threshold control technologies that represent a lot of what you just talked about. One of the things about tableting aids, not inactives, I agree, it's no longer inactives, but these ingredients that we use to keep these products together. We have very strict ingredients, what we can use for the nutrients themselves, but we have similarly strict rules and regulations on what we can use for tableting aids. Not all tableting aids are fine for us. There's a lot of them that on the surface, they appear to be the same, but when you dig into the background, they're quite different. One example I like to use is stearic acid. Stearic acid is a naturally occurring fatty acid. It's found widely in the human food chain. Your body knows exactly what to do with it when it arrives, but there are lots of different kinds of stearic acid out there on the marketplace, and you can get what I would call cheap and dirty stearic acid, just the bottom basement level stuff, and then you can get the more sophisticated stuff. For us, we look into things that not just stearic acid, but we need to know where our stearic acid came from. We need to know its sources. We need to know that its purity levels, and we need to know that it's a non-GMO derived thing and things like that. So there's a very big difference in what we can put into the binding agent, the tableting side of our products as well.
That's right. And I've said this before, and it surprises some people, especially people that are not within NeoLife, but we treat these tableting aids the same way as we treat the nutritional compounds in terms of quality and selection. Mm-hmm. And so we do the same sorts of testing and auditing, identity testing, and testing for potential contaminants that we might do on our nutritional ingredients. They're handled the same way because they're all part of the same formula. So really, that thick tome I just mentioned on tableting aids, most of that we just kind of set aside because our toolbox is much more limited because of our high quality standards. For instance, your stearic acid example is really apt, and it's a really good one because a lot of companies will use, say, animal source stearic acid. We can't do that. We've set high quality standards that has to be not just plant sourced, it's got to be non-GMO, and it also has to be certified and audited to be sustainably harvested plants. It can't just come from anywhere.
Exactly.
So the other examples, all of our ingredients, the coatings, the flowing agents, the disintegrating agents, they're all derived from non-animal sources that are non-GMO and sustainable, and from pure sources as well. So we are very limited in what we can use. It sort of makes for a challenge, but then, like I said, we love the challenge.
Yeah, we do, and I think that we also, like the idea of, setting standards for ourselves that maybe others don't really care too much. Your comment about it being sustainably sourced plant-derived materials, I don't know how many companies actually care about whether the quote unquote inactives, the tableting agents in their products actually are environmentally friendly and, eco-sensitive and things like that. Well, like you say, we treat those ingredients just the same way we treat any ingredient in any NeoLife product. They have to be validated. They have to meet this very strict sort of criteria for all of the many, many things that we hold sacred to how we conduct ourselves in the world and how we manufacture products and so on and so
big
forth.
Difference between
there's also a side to the idea of tableting. It's the target of the tablet, right? Obviously, a chewable tablet is targeted to be chewed, so that becomes pretty obvious. But just because you have a tablet doesn't mean that you want everything to happen in the stomach once you swallow it. Matter of fact, we have developed what we call targeted delivery technology, which allows us to actually, through our tableting technologies, determine exactly where the tablet is going to disintegrate and how it's going to break down and how it's going to deliver those nutrients, and probably most appropriately, where it's going to happen. Prolonged disintegration of threshold control we've talked about, and the things that are sustained release and intestine targeted enzymes. Those represent challenges unto themselves. Give us a little insight into what we do to get that job done too.
Right. So, these, like you mentioned, these different forms have different challenges and that have to be met through the formulating, for instance, the chewable, you mentioned that, it has to come apart in the mouth, but there's challenges to that that have to be met. The tablet has to have a robust integrity and stability. We typically will formulate chewables so that they taste good. They have to taste good, but they have to have the right mouth feel. So it's got to have a good crunch. It's got to be hard, but not too hard, but it can't be too soft either.
Yeah.
And, there's different tools that we use, different aids to work with that. The stomach targeted tablet, where the tablet come apart in the stomach, disintegrate there. Some may say that's a little bit easier to deal with. But you really have to work and develop so that the nutritional compounds are stable and protected, and that you have maintain the good tablet robustness throughout. So the stomach targeted tablets, some may say, are a bit easier, but really there's different challenges involved with that as well, because these tablets, the ingredients need to be protected, and the tablet needs to be robust, yet it needs to disintegrate quickly when it's in the stomach to make these active ingredients available immediately. Threshold control, again, we talked about a little bit about that, but those is a particular challenge. When the tablet reaches the stomach, it cannot immediately disintegrate.
Yeah.
It must slowly disintegrate. We're using hydrophobic compounds to help repel water that's in your system. That helps meter these things out, but it has to disintegrate. It can't just be a bullet, and go through the system. So it does disintegrate slowly over time, and we measure that. Then there's the intestine targeted tablets, of course, as you can imagine. That's a challenge because those tablets need to remain unchanged in the stomach, the harsh acidic stomach environment.
Yeah.
They cannot disintegrate. They can't release any nutrient. Once that tablet passes into the intestines, it needs to disintegrate. There's no metering out. It has to disintegrate in the intestine because it's at that point those nutrients are uptaken into the system.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. That targeted delivery technology that we talk about on our products is really a big difference, I think, that people don't realize, that you have to have a product, in the case of something like garlic, for example, you have to have a product that remains intact as it goes through the very harsh environment of the stomach, very acidic, that would typically, the stomach's job is to start breaking things down. It's a big part of the digestive process. And it would typically succumb to that, but we put these tablets together so that they survive that very acidic pH of the stomach. But like you say, once they arrive in the intestine, which is more alkaline, they have to break down. So controlling the relationships between acidity and alkalinity and the tablet and the coating and its ingredients makes for very high technology stuff. But that's one of the things that we like to tell people that we work at doing very well, and that is delivering nutrients where they do the most good. If they're no sense delivering them to the stomach, something like garlic allium complex to the stomach, if you need the enzyme that's in the garlic to activate the compound, because the enzyme will be killed by the acid and the compound will never get activated. So much of the benefit of garlic is lost right at that point. So those sorts of things really in that technology make it stand out. Very strict demands on how products perform, very strict demands on what they contain, very strict demands on the sourcing of not only the bioactive ingredients, but the tableting aids, very, very high technology stuff that the only way I can summarize it is it's extremely complex business, right? Extremely complex technology. I want to take a moment to thank you all for staying tuned here and listening in. And once again, to thank you, Mark, for sharing this with me. And it's been a real pleasure. Okay.